I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I've been disappointed with the people that say they're Christians who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares? This programming where we just don't see Muslims as like human life.
I am a Riva and I was taught how to pray Salah.
That means every single time I pray,
the person who told me gets the reward.
5 times a day, from Fajr to Isha.
If you want to support someone like me in learning Salah,
then sponsor 10 people for just £100 this Ramadan.
Remember the Prophet, peace be upon him, said,
Charity does not decrease wealth. Click the button and donate now.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel and to donate to Salah Plus so we can help reverts learn how to pray this Ramadan. Alright, so with Donald Trump tweeting death threats to both Hamas and shockingly to regular Palestinian citizens, it was very fitting of American conservatives with some common sense and basic morality to call him out on his BS and cowardly submission to the Zionist entity. I'm referring of course to Candace Owens' recent conversation with Theo, where they not only called out Trump for blindly supporting Israel, but also Western Christians for doing the same thing. They also went into detail about why the US are completely controlled by the Israelis and how this abuse of power negatively plays out on a geopolitical level around the world, fact-checking and verifying their claims as they went along. Let's watch the first clip.
I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I've been disappointed, as we saw all last year, with the conservatives, people that say they're Christians who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares? This 9/11 programming where we just don't see Muslims as like human life. To me, to speak about Gaza and talking about casinos and hotels, and these people just lost their entire families. Yeah. It's so far removed from humanity. And I think it's wrong, and I'm tired of America being used as Israel's piggyback. You know, for whatever reason, everyone can critique every other country for taking money from us, and then there's just everyone's blind when it comes to Israel. And obviously, I paid a very heavy price for saying that last year, but I don't care because I am truly someone whose values have never been up for sale. Like I don't care. I will burn everything to the ground and rebuild it. I have to be able to like sleep at night and to see those Palestinian children, and the images are seared into my brain. The screaming, the crying, the bleeding, the stuff that we saw on X for the first time, and really realizing how much we had been lied to about what was happening in that region. I just, it was very easy for me to say, take whatever you have to take from me. I have to be on like the human side of things.
People just feel like this is that it's just wrong.
Of course.
What's happened is wrong. Like probably a year ago, people were afraid to even say that. And now it is what everybody is saying. Like even Piers Morgan is saying it on his show now. Like people are saying it's obvious that you can't go and annihilate and genocide this culture and make them disappear. And then Trump to come on top of it and say they're going to build, you're going to go on a lazy river where there's bodies of like, who could even go to that?
And what's so crazy is the mainstream media thinking that we're so stupid that they're going to condition us to believe that to not support the ethnic cleansing, they're then going to mine our like preconditioned beliefs about the Holocaust and be like, oh, well, if you don't agree with what we're doing over here, then you're a person that wants more Jewish people to die. It's like, this is an evil way to try to socially engineer what you want, because actually it's precisely because of what I learned growing up about Holocaust and ethnic cleansings that I do not support what the state of Israel is doing. And you're trying to convince me that it means that if anybody's been wronged in the past, they can't wrong people in the future. You're also wrongly conflating like a Jewish American. Why? You have nothing to do with what's going on in Israel. This is a foreign country. And Christians as well. I've been very disappointed in Christians who are trying to use this like biblical argument for just, well, no matter what, like, you know.
Are people doing that?
Yeah, it's pretty sick, man. It is very sick. They're basically saying that the Bible's, the Bible will bless those who bless Israel.
Respect to Candace for criticising Donald Trump, the conservative movement, and Christian Zionists for their dehumanization of Muslims, which for the latter two she correctly put down to decades-old Islamophobic propaganda designed to brainwash the masses. And in Trump's case, we all know he is a bought and paid-for puppet to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Candace described the cold and callous attitude towards the loss of life in Palestine as far removed from humanity, and quite rightly labelled Christians who use the Bible to justify the killing of Palestinians as sick individuals. And I believe her when she says her values are not up for sale, and that she has to stand up for what is right, especially after seeing the horrific scenes of what Israel has done to Palestinian children. Even Theo admitted Israel are committing an outright genocide and are completely in the wrong for doing so, and credit to him for also being against Trump's despicable plan to build a tourist attraction on top of the fresh graves of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians in Gaza on behalf of Israel. Candace Owens and Theo openly supported Trump in the previous election, so for them to put their political preferences to the side and put him on blast for spinelessly bowing down to Zionists is a big statement, as it will open a lot of people's eyes to Trump's cowardice and corruption. And well done to Candace for ripping into the mainstream media for shamelessly trying to condition people into supporting the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, as she put it, by using the plight of Jewish people in World War II. Candace labelled this cheap media trickery as an evil attempt to socially engineer society, and explained that her knowledge of World War II is actually the reason why she doesn't want history to repeat itself in Palestine. Let's watch the next clip.
So we have a country who, first and foremost, doesn't have to give us back our pedophiles. Literally, they have this weird rule that you can go if you're Jewish and hide as a pedophile. People who have molested children in America, if they're Jewish, they can then make their trip to Israel and be protected by the government.
So these are people that are Israeli citizens?
No, they can then become Israeli citizens. They're American. If they're being on a trial, you get to Israel, they'll protect you. And yet the mainstream media is trying to defend the actions of this state. And yeah, if you even talk about this, so say it's anti-Semitic, talk about this. This is a country that is taking billions and billions and billions. It's an American welfare state. It's ridiculous. And the fact that they can just call people anti-Semitic, it's just like a sweeping allegation. How dare you notice that this is happening over here? You anti-Semite. We have every right to critique this nation because you take money from us, especially, right? That means when we go to work, and taxes are being taken away, we're paying to support this. Israel's able to expand with such a small population. Somebody has to be fighting their wars. Somebody has to be funding them. We're funding them. So I think we've just become like the piggy bank to them.
I don't like that Netanyahu guy, man.
I hate him.
That guy seems like an evil guy to me, and I think he's seemed like that to most people now. Didn't they just come up with a thing today about the ICC? They can't prosecute Netanyahu?
Yeah, because he runs shit.
Is that today?
Yeah, he's like the ultimate gangster. Even when they catch him doing the crimes, and we created this court for exactly what it did, they said, you can't do this. Then they say, well, just cancel the courts. Can you imagine being like that much of a worldwide gangster? It's crazy. It's this illusion of we're better. We would never. Because of World War II. You're doing all of it, right? You're violating every single one of these codes that you put into place.
Why do you think there's such a strong relationship between the two countries then?
Blackmail. I think blackmail. And I think this is the reason why we don't get to open the Epstein files. We don't get to open the JFK files. Parking aside America, other countries too. You investigate anything. Israeli blackmail comes up. So to pretend that we don't know that Israel is involved in blackmail operations is foolish. They have gotten it down to a science. And there's no question in my mind that sexual blackmail is what Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. And then it's like, haha, we've got you on tape, whatever it is. The mainstream media, this effort to just keep smearing, libeling people for noticing basic human things. Trust with them has been fractured. I'm grateful that people no longer believe them. I'm grateful that now people are going to independent podcasts. That means that for holding on to just basic human values and being willing to talk about issues in a way and not pretend that your audiences are stupid. We've earned their trust.
If anybody still supports Israel after watching that, then you're a sick and twisted individual. As you saw, Theo was fact-checking Candace's claims as she made them, so there is no wiggle room for any Zionist supremacist to make excuses to justify the unspeakable crimes against children in the West that Israel aids and covers up, except that they themselves condone this type of evil. Ask yourself this: what reason does Israel have to harbour criminals that abuse kids except Jewish supremacy? No community should allow this to happen or be exempt from accountability for crimes against children. Why are Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson and Tommy Robinson, etc. not speaking about this? Why are they allowing this to happen to children in the West? Maybe because they don't really care about the well-being of kids, especially if it involves Israel, because they are on the Zionist payroll, which is evident through how they turn a blind eye to this horrific abuse. These sick groomers from Jewish backgrounds should be condemned and humiliated the same way groomers from Muslim backgrounds are. And that goes for any background: Christian, Hindu, atheist, whatever. Candace Owens Owens labelled Israel a welfare state due to the billions of dollars they bleed dry from the US economy, as well as calling out the false accusations of anti-Semitism made by them and their lackeys towards anyone who speaks up against their numerous appalling wrongdoings. Theo correctly labelled the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as evil and exposed his ICC arrest warrant for committing countless war crimes being overruled despite many countries around the world agreeing that he's guilty. Candace expressed hatred for Netanyahu and labelled him a gangster and a war criminal, and the people that protect him as hypocrites that contradict the false morality they display to the world. She also claimed that global blackmail of Western politicians, as well as the general threat of assassination of political figures, is why Israel has a stronghold over the American government. And as she said, no one trusts the Zio-run mainstream media anymore, as more and more people are waking up to their shameless shilling for Israel. Let's watch the next clip.
I think the Middle East is historically a place that's not super chill, you know? So that's probably what a lot of people would say is like, oh, well, you need an ally there, right?
Which is so stupid. I hate when people just say stuff. Like one of my things that I
mean,
always...
it's a strong theory, though.
But it's not. It's just people just say things that are said all the time. Why the hell do we have any business in the Middle East at all? Like, why are you just trying to tell me that, like, I need an ally? I actually don't. Why are we involved constantly in Middle East drama? Again, this is one of the things that we've just been programmed since childhood to think, why are we in Afghanistan? I would like to mind my business. There's this idea of international expansionism, international liberalism. Everybody must think like us, live like us. Really, like, I'm good if they don't, actually. I'm cool if, like, Russia wants to decide how Russia lives, and if...
Yeah, I agree with that.
Pakistan wants to decide how Pakistan lives. If America could employ that foreign policy for a bit, it'd be great.
You know, we've been just as bad as any other country as about causing trouble in places, you know?
And for whose benefit? Who has benefited from that? All of the stuff we did in the Middle East, who's benefited from that? The answer is Israel. Okay, America has not benefited from any of these wars. Why did we just have all of these
if we've been
daughters
kept
and
safe,
sons dying in the Middle East? And it didn't make us safer. I don't feel safer when I have to just like strip dance at every airport. And they never found anybody with a shoe bomb. It was just this illusion of Middle Eastern terrorism that made us give up all of our rights.
The sad part I agree with you on is that regular American people are the ones that have to sign up for the military. They're the ones who have to actually go and die and be the pawns of these sick governments, right?
Like I literally said no one should sign up. I would never send my kids to fight in a war for a foreign nation when this is a condition of ours. You love the war so much, neocons, the conservative side, put your kids in the war. You love it so much. You love Israel. So go fight for Israel, dude. There's no rules here. Pick up and go.
I think this clip was important because Theo Vaughn is an example of someone who is in the process of waking up to the truth of the vast extent of treacherous Zionist control over the West. But he's not quite there yet. And that was evident when he parroted back the unconscious programming that all Westerners have. And that is that America's presence in the Middle East has something to do with keeping the rest of the world safe. Candace quite rightly refuted this claim by denouncing this theory as nothing more than propaganda and brainwashing. As she said, America doesn't need an ally in the Middle East because it is none of their business, nor is it right for them to police other nations and how they run their countries. The arrogant attitude of the West knows best is what many bigots use as an excuse to justify European colonization. It's a supremacist excuse that they're civilizing the savages by invading their countries, when in reality they're just robbing those nations blind and leaving their citizens in poverty. Theo Vaughn did concede that America has caused havoc around the world, and Candace added that every time the US has oppressed a Middle Eastern nation, it was under the orders of Israel, again at the expense of the American public, and that the anti-Muslim fear-mongering to justify it was all false. Once again, respect to her for calling for her fellow Americans to refuse to fight for Israel. Let's watch the last clip.
Israel is actually the exception. They are the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans. Like everyone else has to register as, you know, a foreign agent and under FARA.
Like with APAC or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. American Zionist Council was a pro-Israel lobby in the United States, founded in 1949. It represented 9 nationwide Zionist organizations in matters related to...
See at the bottom there, in 1962, look at the last paragraph. In 1962,
President John F. Kennedy and his brother Bobby, as a U.S. Attorney General, forced the AZC to register as a foreign agent. In doing so, they were barred from making monetary contributions to U.S. officials. Who was barred? AZC?
Yeah, so APAC, for lack of a better term. They were called AZC back then. They're the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans that are not registered under the FARA Act. And so when you see these
under the what act?
FARA. So that's like if you're a foreign agent, you have to basically register, your communications are monitored, all of this stuff. But for whatever reason, Israel is an exception to this. And the reason is because JFK got shot, because otherwise they would have been under this. And then, of course, we're not allowed to read the files, but leading up to his death, he was having arguments with the Prime Minister, Ben Gurion. Look it up.
Foreign Agents Registration Act is a U.S. law that requires people and entities working on behalf of foreign governments to register with the Department of Justice.
So it drives me insane to see these absolute frauds, like when they go, Russia spent money and influenced the election, and all of these people will be taking money from AIPAC. They all are taking money from Israel, but it's wrong. A country should not be able to lobby to get what they want and control our congressmen. And you get to see them flex that muscle, like TikTok and things of nature when they are now interfering with our speech, and they'll get laws passed really quickly. It allows literally a foreign country to make decisions in our nation. Lobbying should just not be allowed, full stop. I would feel the same way if there was a Chinese lobby
Is China
that was
allowed
spending.
to do it?
No, there's no other country that's allowed to do this but Israel. Everyone else has to register under the FARA Act, and that changes things significantly. AIPAC is the only, American Israel PAC, whatever it is allowed to spend $100 million in our elections and not be called names. Like if could you imagine if Russia spent $100 million in our elections? If there was like a Russia PAC or a Chinese PAC, and they were just allowed to spend that kind of money to lobby and pay our politicians to say things and to believe in things.
If like America is owned by Israel or something, or part ownership or whatever, just tell us that.
Right. Well, they don't want to. You wouldn't sign up for wars. You would start to question things in a different way. And so it becomes important for the government to keep Americans ignorant of how Congress works, what's going on, so that they believe their congressman when they go on a rant and say, Israel's our friend and ally, and they don't know how to just very easily look up and see whether this guy's taking money.
Isn't it wild how Israel is the only foreign nation in the world that openly interferes in US elections by literally paying off American politicians to do as they say? Think about if Saudi Arabia did the same thing in Canada or the UK. The uproar would be insane. Candace exposed how openly Zionist Israeli lobbyists are basically above the law, as they evade all legislation in place to stop other foreign nations from interfering in American politics. She even linked this to the assassination of JFK, who she claimed was the only US president who attempted to apply the law to the Zionist lobbies, to his detriment. And once again, well done to Theo for fact-checking and verifying all of this information. Candace is correct. It is completely corrupt that a foreign country like Israel can not only pass laws in the US, but they can also dictate what is considered free speech in America through the control of social media apps. If you still support Israel after taking in this information and seeing the fraud, propaganda, manipulation, and criminal conduct they engage in, and you're not a Zionist supremacist or a paid-off politician, then you're a bigoted idiot that is aiding evil whilst contributing to your own downfall. I'm so glad that these large conservative podcasts are speaking about this and exposing the truth. My respect goes out to anyone who's brave enough to do so. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this. And remember to like, subscribe, and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.